The Digital Debate: The Conflicting Ideologies Surrounding Digital Downloading by Claire Bisniano. The music industry is dying. Everyone seems to be saying it. CD sales are down, illegal downloading is at an all-time high, and the question record label executives are asking is, what can we do? A little history might be helpful in seeing where we've come from and where we're headed. The MP3 was invented in 1993 by the Moving Picture Experts Group, or as it's known today, MPEG. It was originally designed as a means for standardizing television audio for international trade, but was soon adopted by online communities as a means of sharing digital content. In 1999, Sean Fanning developed Napster, an online file sharing site. By 2000, only a year after going live, it had over 500,000 users sharing content. By 2001, that number had ballooned to over 60 million. Napster had effectively revolutionized music distribution forever. While many musicians and record label executives saw Napster as a boon on the music business, some artists actually saw an increase in album sales as a result of its promotional power. Alternative rock band Radiohead, who in their 15-year career had never breached the top 20 in the US, saw their album Kid A debut at number 1 after it had been leaked 3 months previously on Napster. Similarly, small independent band Dispatch, who had no formal promotional or radio play, saw their fanbase flourish as a result of Napster. In 2007, they became the first independent band ever to sell out Madison Square Garden, and they sold it out 3 nights in a row. Despite a few exceptional success stories, overall CD sales declined after the debut of Napster. By 2003, just 4 years after Napster went live, CD sales had decreased by 17.5%. In the first legal case surrounding the issue of illegal downloading, the band Metallica sued Napster for copyright infringement, and by July of 2001, Napster was effectively shut down in accordance with the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. Despite Metallica's success, file sharing and torrenting sites continue to flourish, and today they are everywhere. An estimated 95% of all music downloaded online is done so illegally. That's 1 billion songs illegally downloaded a year, costing the US economy approximately $12.5 billion annually. To combat the seemingly insurmountable battle against illegal downloading, many companies use digital rights management software, or DRMs, to restrict and control what users can do with their media. If you've ever been unable to download a music file because it's not compatible, or unable to burn a CD into your library, you've come up against a DRM. The purpose of DRMs is to stop copyright infringement, and they attempt to accomplish this through a variety of methods. Some limit the number of installations a user can complete, limiting the number of devices a certain software can be installed on. Many encrypt their software and require online authentication in order for users to utilize the content. Still others protect against software tampering and manipulation through requiring a decryption. In many cases, DRMs give very little access to the user, while gathering a great deal of access from the user's online profile and personal information. Dozens of companies use DRMs. It's almost impossible to use any technology without coming across one. But there is a problem with using DRMs as the sole method of fighting copyright infringement. Beyond giving companies access to users' personal and digital information, many opposed to the software claim that it's not effective in stopping copyright infringement and is actually only successful at hindering the use of media by those who legally paid for it by limiting the number of platforms legally acquired media can be played on. When you download DRM content, you don't own it, and if the platform or company you use to download it should stop working someday, it could just disappear. And that's exactly what happened in August of 2007 with Google's video player, and then again in 2008 with Microsoft's failed music venture MSN Music. Users who paid for their content through these platforms legally were sent notice that soon their content would disappear if they did not acquire a legal transfer code for each individual song or video. Both Bill Gates and the late Steve Jobs came out against DRMs. Jobs stated in an open letter to companies developing DRMs that, quote, DRMs haven't worked and may never work to halt music piracy. He vowed to make Apple Music a DRM-free platform, and by 2009, Apple Music Library had become 100% DRM-free. Despite DRM's failure, a lot of time and effort is going into trying to figure out how to stop illegal downloading, but not everyone feels the same. A movement is growing. Countless artists are popping up in support of file sharing, all saying music should be free. In 2007, the band Radiohead released their seventh album, In Rainbows, online for digital download in a pay-what-you-want format. 60% of users downloaded it for free, while 40% paid an average of $6 for the album. In 2012, musician Amanda Palmer followed in Radiohead's footsteps and self-released her album Theater is Evil for free online after splitting from her label. She then took to Kickstarter to finance the distribution and tour of her album. While her goal was $100,000, her fans backed her at just under $1.2 million, making it the most successful music crowdfunded project in history. Online nonprofit organization Creative Commons taps into this desire to create and share content for free. Founded in 2001 by creator Lawrence Lessig, the goal of the site is to combat what Lessig describes as a dominant and increasingly restrictive permission culture. Users are able to download, share, and reappropriate each other's work with no legal ramifications. The reappropriation and use of copyrighted work can in fact be considered legal under the Copyright Act of 1976 if it falls under the four tenets of fair use. Number 1. The purpose and character of the use, including whether such use is of a commercial nature or is for nonprofit educational purposes. Basically, teachers can use copyrighted material for educational purposes. Criticism of a work is okay, as is using copyrighted material for the purpose of the news. The use of copyrighted material for this presentation, for example, is a-okay. Another example of fair use is if the work is transformative. This includes parody and reappropriation of work that alters it enough to be considered unique in its own right. Number 2 is the nature of the copyrighted work. Is the work actually protected by copyright law? Is it a small, non-copyrighted work such as a journal or manuscript, or a well-known piece of fiction? The more creative and unique a work, the more strictly it tends to be protected under copyright law. Number 3, the amount and substantiality of the portion used in relation to the copyrighted work as a whole. The use of all copyrighted work must be recognized within the new work. For music, this tends to be an issue with sampling of previously recorded work. The length of the clip used and the recognizability plays a major factor. Number 4, the effect of the use on the potential market for or value of the work. Basically, if you're making a lot of money off of sampling a copyrighted work and they aren't, it's going to be an issue. These four tenets of fair use leave a lot of room for interpretation and are by no means universal. So the question remains, where are we going? Will we reach a state where all music will be free online, or will we move towards a state of increased restriction and punishment? What can we do now? For those trying to navigate the tumultuous ground of the current music industry, there are many free alternatives to downloading music illegally. Here are just some of the sites that offer free music downloads or streaming. Check social media sites. A lot of artists offer free downloads or streaming of their singles via social media sites for promotional purposes. If you feel all online content should be free for all to use and share, find your community. Creative Commons is a great starting point and offers an immense library of free content created and shared by like-minded users. If you're thinking of using or reappropriating copyrighted material, remember the four tenets of fair use. Make sure your work is educational, criticism, news, or transformative. Know the nature of your work you are using. Is it copyrighted? Give credit where credit is due and use as little as possible. And most importantly, don't try and make a profit off of other people's work unless they're getting a cut of the money as well. And if you really love music and the music you're downloading, support your favorite artists by paying for their music. They depend on your support to continue to make the music you love. Don't illegally download music, it only hurts.